Welcome into Mock Trial Masterclass, your guide to controlling the courtroom. I'm Luke, and I want you to be a mock trial master. Let's talk about how you can make that happen. Whenever you're testifying as a witness in mock trial, the most important thing for you to do is to be memorable. You want to stand out from the other witnesses in the round and get higher scores than those other witnesses to help your team get ahead. So in this video, what we're going to talk about is 5 things you can implement into your witness performance to be more memorable. And it all starts with volume. I can't tell you how many witnesses I've seen over the years in mock trial who walk up to the witness stand, sit down, and then they start to whisper. Maybe they don't really whisper, but there are plenty of witnesses who you can barely hear. In fact, there have been situations where I am judging around, sitting on the bench, the witness is right next to me, and I can't understand a word they're saying because they're talking so quietly. How in the world could you expect to be memorable as a witness if no one can hear what you're saying? So when it comes to being memorable as a witness, if you don't start with having a volume level that people can hear, you're gonna have no shot at being memorable. Now, we don't wanna be over the top loud. We don't want people to have to sit back in the gallery because you're being so loud that it's hurting their ears. We don't want that type of thing, but be bold when you're on the witness stand. Lean into the microphone if there is one, and speak with some conviction, speak with some volume. That's the first key to being memorable. Now, the next key to being memorable, and this falls similar to volume in that without this, there's just no shot of you being memorable, is to make eye contact, but not just to make eye contact with the jury or your lawyer or the judge. Make eye contact with everyone. Now, there's this strategy that's out there in the mock trial world that I've seen where a witness will almost robotically stare straight ahead at their attorney when they're being asked a question. And then when they're answering the question, they robotically turn toward the jury and start talking in that direction. That's a terrible strategy, and if you've been using that strategy, I don't mean to come on to you that hard, but you really need to throw that strategy in the trash can because it makes you look like a robot. Think about in real life. If you were being interviewed, or even if you were just having a conversation with a friend or a group of friends, as you're talking, as you're answering questions that you get asked, you're gonna look at everyone. I mean, think about how awkward it would be if you're sitting at the dinner table with 4 friends and one of them asks you a question. And as you're answering that question, you turn to one specific friend, or perhaps you're answering your question and then you robotically turn to the left, right? Your friends would start to make fun of you and say, hey, what in the world are you doing? So when you're on the witness stand, use human eye contact. Look at everyone when you're answering the question, right? Scan the room, give your answer to the room. You're more than welcome to turn to the jury when you're answering your question, but feel free to turn back to your attorney, right? Just be natural with your eye contact. Don't make it robotic. Don't make it scripted or stunted. Be natural. So when it comes to being memorable as a witness, you want to be loud enough. You want to make eye contact with everyone. Number 3, you want to have a personality. And what this means is you don't want to be a robot. We just talked a lot about not being a robot when it comes to eye contact, but when it comes to not being a robot, there's more to it than just the eye contact game. It also takes into account the type of language you use. When you're on the witness stand, you need to talk like a person talks. If you're about to say something as a witness, or if you're in advance of a tournament preparing something for your witness to say, ask yourself, is this a word or a phrase that a normal human being would use? And if it's not, you need to find another way to say it. Now, there are situations with an expert witness where you're going to have to use scientific words and terms, and that's more than okay. But if you're on the witness stand, again, using words that people don't use, you're not going to have a personality. The jury's going to think that you're a robot and you're not going to stand out. So have a personality, and the biggest way you can have a personality is to just talk like a human. Be real, be natural. And I promise if you do that, the jury's gonna like you. Another way that you can be memorable as a witness is to use humor in your performance. Now, before we get into why you want to use humor, let me caution you with this. Please don't go overboard with this. I can't tell you how many witnesses I've seen get up to the stand and the whole thing, their direct or their cross, turns into a stand-up comedy routine. We're not looking for Jim Gaffigan here. We're not looking for Jerry Seinfeld here. What we're looking for is maybe 1 or 2 moments of humor that you can naturally inject into your performance to make yourself memorable and to make the judges like you. And here's the thing about humor. Research has shown that when you use humor in any kind of presentation, the people who are listening to you in the moment will focus even more than they would if you didn't use humor. But then after the fact, the research has shown that people will remember your presentation more if you used humor during it. So humor is a great thing to add to your witness performance. I've seen it done very well countless times, but again, I've also seen it done really poorly countless times. So just make sure you don't go over the top with it. Keep it natural, keep it real, and keep it safe. Before we get into our fifth way that you can make your witness performance more memorable, I want to remind you that you can schedule coaching with me. I'd be super fired up to meet with you one-on-one, one-on-two, or to meet with your entire team over Zoom to talk about, well, anything you want. We can have a Q&A session. I can lead a workshop where I'll coach on one area of mock trial and then we can do an activity after that. Or I can listen to your speech, your cross, your direct, anything you want, and provide real in-the-moment feedback that can help you take it to the next level. So if you're interested in setting up a coaching appointment, be sure to click the link in the description. All right, our fifth and final way that you can make your witness performance more memorable is to add an accent. Now, like with humor, I'm going to give you a bit of a warning with this one. Accents cannot be over the top. You get one per round. You can't have more than one witness with an accent. You also don't get to use an accent if you can't keep it consistent throughout your performance. If your accent is really good during direct, but kind of comes and goes during cross-examination, your score will go down because the scorers will notice that and they'll think you're just trying to use a gimmick. However, when an accent is done well, when it's rehearsed, when it's consistent, when you only have one of them among your three witnesses, it's a great way to make your witnesses stand out. But again, practice it, right? Don't decide a week before the tournament that you want to have a Russian accent and sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger, or don't decide a week before the tournament that you want to sound like, a classic stereotype Brooklyn or Boston accent, right? We're not looking for that type of thing. We're looking for something that is very well rehearsed, very well planned, and appears natural in the moment. If you use an accent, it should be so good that after the round, you get asked questions about whether you're actually from the place that uses that accent. That's how good it needs to be. It's good to use them, but you have to use them the right way. That's it for this video. I hope you implement these 5 techniques appropriately. I hope they make your witness performance more memorable. I hope your score goes up, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.